making a movie about samurai or if you're making a movie about step dancers, what's important is to go and submerge yourself in the world and do all the research that's necessary. We went to Florida, North Carolina, Louisiana, Georgia, California, New York, and we went to all the colleges that featured step competitions.
TNT! Wolfpack March!
We hung out backstage with the kids and the step masters. We went and hung out in the dorms.
What are the hot moves? What is each fraternity doing? Who's the baddest? What's the best?
Who's that creeping in my window?
We did a call for the best step teams in each of those cities to come out and audition for a chance to be in the movie. The purpose was twofold, so that we could find step teams that we could showcase in the film, but also so that my team could really see what the best step teams in the country look like.
How can we stay true to that, but then push the envelope a little bit so that the people in the audience would say, okay, these guys are holding their own.
At that point, I was taking a lot of still photography, and there was this group of step dancers, and they did a sort of line formation, and I took a snapshot of them as they were doing a specific move. The step master's in front like this, and he's doing crazy, intense expression of just exteriorizing his pride and this energy. And when I saw that photo, I saw the movie, and I said to myself, if I can capture that essence right there, then I can succeed with this.
So at the audition process, so many people, it was ridiculous. Everybody wanted it. They were going for it. Blood, sweat, and tears.
I had such an intense audition. I heard it was one of the most intense auditions of that year.
Everybody can't pick up Dave's choreography. Dave would go do 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 do. And if you're not buckled in, you're not gonna make it. He really weeded out the guys who could hang with that and the guys who couldn't.
You could be an excellent dancer, but if you don't nail that routine perfectly that one time, then you're not gonna get the part.
1, 2, 3.
We needed to find amazing dancers who were flexible enough to be able to adapt to the style of dance called stepping, and also be able to bring the richness of the characters that was on the page.
I had to hire a dancer that was aggressive, that can act, and also that fit a college look.
Once we had the selection of dancers, then we had to decide which ones form which team. We sort of assembled the two competitive fraternities for the movie, and a lot of the things that came along with defining the identity of the fraternities came from the people who made up the fraternities. We started to decide, oh, these guys should be the pythons, and these guys should be the wolves, and their colors should be red, and these guys should be orange. All these things were not scripted. We figured out because I wanted to feel really genuine.
It was challenging, I have to say, because we had to give each fraternity their own characteristics.
Knucklehead!
So with the new Gamma Zai, we gave them like the bigger movements, the more hardcore movements, the more, rough type choreography. And then with Theta, they were more intricate.
The Muse are 7 years champions. They're a little older, a little bigger, a little more aggressive. They're streamlined, you can't touch them.
Our moves tend to be a lot stronger, powerful, louder moves.
The Thetas are more angular and precise, smaller moves and more about the showmanship, the verbal part of it.
We're known as the academics. We're known as the philanthropists. We're not known as the step champions.
Boom, that's what I'm talking about.
For sure.
We started rehearsing about 3 months before the movie, 8 hours a day, basically every day. And they would literally practice till they were exhausted. I mean, Dave Scott is a really nice guy. He's really mellow and everything. When you put him in the rehearsal space with his dancers, he's intense.
As far as getting into the stepping thing, I brought in Chuck Maldonado, who's a dancer and choreographer. He's also a Kappa, so he's a stepper and he has extreme knowledge.
Chuck will come in and say, hey, what about this? Why don't we try this? And Dave would say, it's great, we'll add a little flavor to it. So Chuck will kind of do a traditional step, and then Dave will come in and then just pimp it out.
We start tweaking it a little bit, putting a little hip hop into it.
We incorporated crumping and popping.
So you have the rhythmic and percussion with a little bit more funk put on top of it, add some hip hop choreography, and then twist it on its ear with some stomp.
what they did was really kind of advancing the art form.
How we started our rehearsals, Dave and I would start teaching them this actual step choreography. We would just go over that particular portion for about, at least an hour where we're actually teaching it. And then for the rest of the day, we'll actually run it over and over and over again. And we'll be changing a lot of things. Because, at first you give them like the skeleton. And then from there, we, evolved into something a little bit more. We started giving them the sounds, we started giving them the words, we started giving them the transitions.
They would go in and they would step and stomp and be clapping and stuff until their hands were like swollen and red.
Those boys work their butts off. I don't know where they'd find the energy from to keep delivering it the same way with the same amount of passion.
They get a quick stretch, a couple ibuprofen, and then they're back on stage.
What did I learn about stepping? Stepping is painful. Stepping hurts.
Tappers have an easier time with stepping. Somebody like Columbus, whose background is in, from Stomp as a dancer, that can hear rhythms, internalize them, and then put them out, has a much easier time. Somebody like myself, who counts out beats and tries to dissect, movements in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that doesn't happen in stepping.
One of the things that I was hoping would happen was that a real sense of brotherhood would come out from our steppers, from our actors.
Dave, Scott, and myself create a sense of competition between these teams, a sense of fraternity, so that they would really feel unified as a group and competitive towards the other group.
They kept the Mu Gammas away from the Theta News. We didn't rehearse in the same buildings at the same time.
They would stay in separate hotels. They would never take the same vans.
We would never work out with the Thetas. We would never do any type of step choreography with the Thetas. We might see each other on the way in and out of the dance studio.
We look them down, up and down, like, what up? What's up?
I would build them up as well by saying, the best team is going to get the most screen time. Little things like that, just to get this sort of aggressive and competitive feel.
We really took it on. We really were like, we're the Thetas. We're the Thetas, and the Mu Gammas, we're the Mus, we're the Mu Gammas.
I'll see you at Nationals.
Yes, you will.
We'd walk around and we'd be our characters, even when the cameras weren't rolling. Everyone was just very, very into it.
Theta New, we throw up Theta New all day.
The sense of competition and mystery about the other team became really heightened. I would go to Dave and be like, this idea is really working. Like, you should really go with it all the way. The scene where we first see the Mus and the Thetas coming face to face. I went up to Darren and I said, hey, on this next pass, I want you to go right up to Brian and just go like this, 7 years, and just put it right in his face and just go right in his face. And then I went to Brian and I said, well, I think Darren's feeling a little feisty. You might have to keep him in line on this next pass. Darren went up to Brian and they were really in each other's face. Like, they didn't flinch because they're the step masters. But the other guys around quickly caught on to that and we had to sort of separate. But I didn't even really want to stop it because I felt, well, this is what it's all about. I think sometimes the line was blurred.
Rolling. Action! Come on, Mu Gammas out there working hard, fellas. Come on, Chris, push it, baby. When I say Nationals, you say Trey. Champs!
There are scenes where you get a true sense of these aren't people that just met, a couple of weeks ago. These are guys that have gone through something together.
We were on Stone Mountain and the sun was going down. I looked around at the guys and I was just like, wow, these are my brothers. These are my brothers.
It comes across as really authentic. And that's because it was.
After studying all the dance films that had been done in the last 20 years, I thought, with this art form of stepping, there's this sport component. And I thought, well, instead of studying dance movies, I'm going to study sports movies and apply that to this movie. And then I started studying Taiwanese kung fu movies and sort of figure out how they were shooting fight sequences and decide I was going to try and apply some of those techniques to dancing. I didn't want to shoot dancing like it usually is, which is usually from an audience perspective. I wanted the audience to feel like they're inside this crazy mayhem. And that was about putting the camera inside the dancing. I wanted to be on the stage and doing the camera myself because then I could work around them versus the other way around. Sometimes the dancers had to dodge me and sometimes I had to dodge them. Sometimes it came really close, but some of those moments were actually some of the coolest moments that are in the movie. the very end of the movie, the Thetas and the Muse tie in their final show, and they have to go head-to-head in a sort of freestyle step battle.
We made sure that we had the right setting, that we had, in addition to our fictional fraternities, that we had real step teams that were some of the best in the country.
There's a very authentic crowd. We had like 2,000 extras.
They were really cheering, they were really booing.
It's almost like the floor is vibrating just from the energy. Like a concert, like a rock concert.
And they were never once in this movie told who to cheer for, who was the good fraternity, who was the bad fraternity, who was better or worse, who we were in the story.
It just started to feel real. Like after a while, it really just became people watching this actual competition take place.
You're not just acting now, you're actually performing in front of these people, so you can't mess up.
Once you start hearing extras who know nothing about the storyline throwing up the pythons or howling like wolves, you know that you're reaching people, that you're touching and affecting people, and it excites you.
To have all those people in the crowd to give us that feel of a real step show was the best part.
We had that energetic crowd that we kept hyped so that our performers, when they went out there, they would really feel what it feels like to be in one of these real competitions and give that energy back to the camera.
There was a prepared routine that I hadn't really seen, and I see it, and I don't like it. Structurally, it was wrong. You had the two lines, the Muse on one side and the Thetas, and then each member would come out one by one. And I just felt like it didn't have the group intensity that I was looking for.
We had something for 4 weeks, so we practiced 8 hours a day, but right now, today, camera's rolling, none of those steps are in it.
And so everybody's stressing out, freaking out on set.
I went to Columbus Short, who was basically the head of the Thetas for that particular scene, and I went to Darren Hansen, who was the head of the Muse. And I said, listen, this is really happening. You guys just tied, and you have to come up with your new routine on the fly, just like you would in the movie. Do it. You have 10 minutes, and we're gonna start shooting.
There was choreography happening right there on stage.
I was like, let me just get my team together, and we're gonna knock it out.
They literally were able to go in and say, okay, look, remember this cadence and this rhythm and this step. Okay, we're gonna do this, and then bring it in, and then you'll come over and flip.
Here's the new routine, let's shoot it right now. Sink or swim.
They came up with their own routine, we came up with ours, and it felt so real, and it was so exciting to do it, because we really had to come together as a fraternity and as brothers to come up with the step.
It's a competition. No one wants to lose. Everybody's gonna push it, and every time we pushed it, they push it hard. So then we gotta push it even harder.
What you on stage?
All the jokes, the way they clown each other back and forth, it's all that animosity and that tension that had been happening since rehearsals, just all spilled out onto the stage.
When it came down to it, you know, it went down.
I don't know what you've been told, but that's the music. Yeah, it's in this house.
And to me, that scene is so awesome because it feels so real. And there's no way we could have planned this.
It made us all steppers. It made us understand what stepping was. It made us become capable of executing the discipline on command, on the spot, on the fly.
And as much as, you know, I'd love to hate on those guys, when we were on that stage squaring off, they just became one. And they were powerful, and they were big. Art imitates life, life imitates art. You know, like, I really felt like they deserved to win that day.
That final move, the move is called the D-Blaze.
The D-Blaze was a problem. I went to Dave Scott and I said, you know, you just have to come up with like an amazing dance move. But it's not that simple because it had to be something fresh and something that people hadn't seen before.
These dancers and b-boys nowadays are amazing. Coming up with something that's never been done or, you know, that's gonna blow people away is not easy.
So at first the move was really designed the way Chris Brown does it in the beginning, which is basically an elbow stand. I proposed to Dave in Columbus, what could we do more for the move to be more interesting?
I thought maybe it'd be a good idea if that move evolved by the time you got to the end of the film. So it's not just, okay, I'm doing my brother's move here. I'm actually coming together with my crew and being a team, and they pushed him and he slid and did the move towards the other guys.
When you see the move in real time, it happens really fast. But I had to sort of play it in slow motion in my mind and see how it could be interesting and cool and different. It wasn't about making it look real because it was real, but it was about placing the camera at the best possible position to capture the move in the best possible way. I had 5 cameras while I was shooting the sequence, so I had 1 camera on the crowd to make sure I had the first real reaction. People just exploded.
And I was like, who was that? I didn't even know it was Columbus, so I couldn't see his face at first.
Columbus really did do this move by himself. I know that he practiced it a lot.
But when I read the script, I was like, okay, this move, I have no clue. Well, I'm a dancer, but I'm not a b-boy. I don't do acrobatics. I tried a couple of moves and it just wasn't working and I was getting frustrated. Doing this every day, I threw my shoulder out, I popped my collarbone. I was hell-bent on not having a stunt double. The way Sylvain captured it just makes it even more unbelievable than it really is.
We had a really great rap party where all the Muse and all the Thetas were suddenly in the same space off the set for the first time, probably in months, and it was all love, it was all joy, and I think at that point people will put it aside, and once they're done, they're just happy about the great work they've done. You really feel the competition and the genuine dedication that they had to the routines and the dance and the performances that shines through in the movie.